Okay. Hey, greetings and welcome. Math is the blackest thing ever. Welcome to our Inspiring Black Math Genius Show with your host, Freddie Taylor, and Sister Assata Moore. Hey, Sister Assata, how are you doing today?
Wonderful, wonderful. How are you today?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent. Just excited for an opportunity to have another discussion with you, right? Today we're talking about
hmm
what's understood doesn't need to be said. What's understood doesn't need to be said. What could we be talking about today, Sister Asada?
I got that from being on this social media, seeing the young folks when they talking about their relationship status, right? And they don't really want to commit. So they like what's understood doesn't need to be said, right?
Okay,
And so I
okay.
got that from that. But as it relates to mathematics, we don't have to say white genius. There doesn't have to be a white math genius program. But what's not understood, then it has to be said.
Right.
And so it's not worldwide understood that Black people are geniuses. And if we go back a few episodes and we talk about the Black woman's gift to the universe, people don't understand that.
Right.
Parents don't, schools don't, no one understands that. And we're not seeing the genius in our children. So we had to be very explicit about Black math genius. All right. And we chose every word for a reason. And we had some pushback. Some people may know from a particular school district, we had some pushback
Right.
on that.
Right.
And they were like, why do we have to call it the Black Math Genius Program? What if we came up with a White Math Genius Program? And I admit that would sound kind of like, wait a minute, hold up, what y'all doing? But it will only sound that way in the same way that when I hear white power, I
Mm-hmm.
have a certain vision in mind versus when I hear Black power. Because when I hear white power, it triggers to me men in capes, hanging Black people, violence, hatred. When I hear Black power, I don't think about murder. I don't think about hate. I think about self-empowerment. So we have to be very careful when we let other people define things for us or when we allow them to rebuttal with an exact example. So it's not an exact example. We say Black math genius to empower young people and to remind them, or if they've never known, to let them know that they are great
Yes.
at mathematics, that they're highly intelligent, and that they have it within them to do well in mathematics. Because obviously it's not understood. Based on the data that we're looking at, people don't understand that Black children have the capability to be mathematical geniuses.
Yeah, and what's even more disheartening is the children don't understand that. The children don't understand
No,
it.
they don't.
They don't believe it. So yeah,
Hey,
I think.
here's a real world example. One kid came to school and told his teacher that he can't do well at mathematics because his mom didn't do well at mathematics. And she told him that Black people aren't good at mathematics, that that's for white folks.
Mm, I know that gets
Right.
under your skin.
Oh, man. But think about it. That's just one example I know about.
Right.
Think about how massive that is across the country. And I was doing an interview in London and they're having the same type of problems. And whenever we're doing webinars, we have people from Canada and it's the same type of problem.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a worldwide issue.
There's a worldwide system at play, right? Which is why why we're
Absolutely.
breaking this pattern, right? You
Absolutely.
mentioned the pushback. Um, so why do you think we're having so much pushback though when we're just trying to get people to understand the truth about who we are?
Right. And one of the things, we do is try to figure things out, at least I do. And I'm stuck between, is it simply ignorance or is it racism or well, racism is an extreme form of ignorance,
Yes.
right? So I would say that it lies in those things, right?
Right.
So it's an extreme sense of ignorance with this underbelly of racism.
Mm.
And they a lot of the people that were pushing back hadn't even seen the program. And
Right.
when you're ignorant and you're low level thinking, I can understand. What I try to do is understand where the people are coming from. So I can understand that if I am from West Virginia in a cold country where Trump has made all of these promises, things haven't gone through, I'm highly uneducated, and someone comes along and says Black math genius, and I'm not a genius,
Yeah.
I can understand how that can trigger people, right?
Right.
And so that was the push. And so they're really backwards. And it's important for us to understand that when you're living in some of these cities, although you have your fair share of racism as well, California has some pockets that are deeply racist. But sometimes I think we get stuck in these little pockets and we don't realize how much of the world is against us, and specifically our children.
Seriously.
Because when our children are empowered to have their own businesses, then who's working these factories? Who's working for other people? Who's sitting back and still building wealth while they're vacationing on their yachts, or they're building generational wealth for their families? What happens when we're doing the same things? Okay, so we have to understand that this is very empowering for young people, young Black children, to know that they're great at mathematics and then to act on it.
Yeah, definitely powerful. Mainly because, math is the blackest thing ever, right?
It's the black. That's not what they learning in school. That it's the blackest thing ever, huh?
Right. Definitely not what they learning in school. But thankfully, we have our Black Math Genius program, right? So we want to encourage y'all to sign up for it at blackmathgenius.com to remind you and our children that math is the blackest thing ever. But Sister Assata, can you tell them what the program is and why they should join?
Yeah, Black Math Genius program, African centered. It puts Black children at the center of their learning. That's extremely important. 2, it's advanced level mathematics. Once you get past the cultural piece, mathematics is mathematics. But then we're also more advanced with it. We're thinking ahead 10, 20 years down the line. What type of careers are going to be out there for our young people? And not only careers, but opportunities to be entrepreneurs and help design their future, right?
Yes.
That's in programming. This is the wave of programming. And if you're not paying attention to what's coming with cryptocurrency, and read some of the articles that have been coming out the past 10 years, like from the director of the IMF, International Monetary Fund, right, where they give loans to countries, they're worried about crypto taking over. Mm-hmm. And so you may be having children today that will probably never step foot in a bank. That's how the world is going to change, in the same way that there were some people that never rode on a horse and they went straight to cars. So understand where your children are as it relates to time. And you should be putting them in a position to win. In a position to win. The world is changing drastically at this point in time. So it's critical, but it's also fun, it's interesting, it's engaging, and it is empowering.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Sister. Sister Assata is the teacher behind the Black Math Genius program. Check it out and learn more, blackmathgenius.com. All right, let's get back to our discussion on what's understood doesn't need to be said. So we're saying that we're talking about Black math geniuses and inspiring them in your home and in your communities as well. But Sister, I know you wanted to tell us about some geniuses, right? And some unknown geniuses and how this all ties in together.
Yeah. Let's start. I'm reading the article the other day on something about them finding Da Vinci's family or something like that. And the title of the article is something about the genius of Da Vinci. Okay. How many times do you hear Black people referred to in that light, right? And so when you think about it, and I know most people are going to know, we hit Pythagoras on one of the other episodes, right? You have Pythagoras, you have Gates, Steve Jobs, Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. Yeah. You have Chase, Morgan, right? You can go through and name all of these: Euclid, Newton, Einstein. Tesla. What's understood when you hear those names? Tesla, right? Yeah. You're hearing genius, right? But do you know Imhotep? Had you heard about Khufu, Khafre, Menkaure? If you stayed on one of our episodes, you did, and all the mathematics that happened there. What about Mark Dean, that gave the isobus in computers and made it possible for us to have printers and scanners and all of the peripheral devices that we were able to add to our computers in the 90s and early 2000s? Okay. What about Percy Julian, Shirley Ann Jackson? Have you heard of these people? You're not hearing about these Black mathematicians. Charles Reason, Etta Falcons. Have you heard about these? Euphemia Haynes. Why aren't you hearing about them and seeing that same genius? And you have to keep thinking about the intentionality of that. How empowering it will be for little Black girls to see images of Black women mathematicians around their classrooms, or little Black boys to see the same thing. but you don't. You keep hearing about others, right? And you have to understand that says, we talk about in the program this idea of priming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how you're primed to think certain things without you even realizing that you're being primed. Okay. And so think about the millionaires and the billionaires that you hear about. But how many of you are learning about Reginald Lewis
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and what he did, this young black kid out of Baltimore? And imagine how empowering that. I bought the book the other day and gave it to a brother that I met, one of my students who's doing very well in a STEM field. I met her fiance and I said, hey, you're from Baltimore. Here's a book on Reginald Lewis. You should know about
I
him.
love
it. Right? Because even though he's a grown man now in his 30s, to be able to, the career that he's in and read something on Reginald Lewis, what would that do for wealth for his generation? Because he's the type of young man that will enact what Reginald Lewis is doing.
Yes, yes. Y'all not familiar with the book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's a great read.
Yep. And so why should white children have all of the learning?
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Why should white children have all the learning? Learning. Yeah. Let's make sure that we're pouring into our young black math geniuses. Right.
Absolutely.
And telling them about people like that you mentioned, right, that really are inspiring and uplifting, and let them know that they can do that as well. Because we need the children to understand that they are geniuses, right? Because when a child believes and has confidence in itself, it goes out and creates the world that it wants. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the mathematics of the city. I mean, going to D.C., Benjamin Banneker, you know, the obelisk that they have, which they call the Washington Monument, which is really the Egyptians called the Teknu, right? And how those are all over the world. Like, I mean, as we say, you know, math is the blackest thing ever.
Yeah.
It's just that they're not telling you that it's black, right? But you best believe it probably came from us.
Yes, yes. And we're going to tell the truth and shame the devil, right? The math is the blackest thing ever.
Yes.
But we want to make sure that, you know, y'all join us inside of the Black Math Genius program. We want to make that offer available to you. Sister Assata, can you tell them why one more time? Now's the time to join the blackmathgenius.com program.
I mean, just take a moment. If you know, we always do this pill thing. You know, if you can give your child that magic silver bullet and allow them to make sure to increase, you can't guarantee anything, right? To drastically increase their chances of being successful and not living in your basement or depending on you for long periods of time, for getting scholarships if they choose to go to college, for becoming entrepreneurs. This here, I have 20 plus years of experience of it doing just that. And I love examples. One of my students hit me out of Vegas and she's sending me pictures like, hey, I got my new shop. This is what I'm doing. Understanding business, because she was one of the students that went to Egypt with me. But she was also one of the students that we started Mapinduzi, which was our first store. And we did market analysis. And she's in middle school.
Wow.
And she learned all about business. And then she just hit me saying, hey, I opened up my business. This is what I'm doing. This is how much it costs per square footage, blah, blah, blah. She understood all the mathematics behind
Love
it.
Love it.
And a lot of business people don't, which is why 95% of businesses fail.
Absolutely. They don't know basic math, right? Don't allow that don't allow that to hinder your children, right? Join us inside the Black Math Genius program. Sign up today, blackmathgenius.com. Good people. All right, Sister Assata, are there any final words that you want to leave the people with?
Hey, if you have children in your home, you have potential geniuses. You have geniuses in your home. Educe, educate, that means to bring out. Help them bring that out. And then you should learn something as well. I mean, for you to understand what's going on. I mean, if you're still in your 30s, 40s, if you ain't 90 or 100, you can learn from this as well with your children. It's a great family product. Yes.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Inspiring Black Math Geniuses. Today we talked about what's understood doesn't need to be said, but we're still saying Black Math Genius, and we want to inspire them in your home and your community. For Sister Assata, I'm Freddie Taylor. Sister Assata Moore, I'm Freddie Taylor. Both of us are your hosts for our Inspiring Black Math Genius program. Until next show, good people, love, peace, and Black power. But while I have you here, right, take a moment and download our free mobile app, a Raising Proud Black Children mobile app. It has our own social network, access to more of the Black Math Genius program and our show, and a lot of fun goodies and extras, right? And everything is absolutely free, available on the Apple the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, or you can just go to sankofaclub.com/app.